Hello everybody. I had a few queries, so I'm gonna attempt a very last demonstration regarding parameters, procedures and functions. It's extremely necessary that you guys understand this really well. Okay? So we'll go for a last demonstration. I then worked already quite a bit with the room paint application or paint the room application. So we're going to take this a little bit further. I showed you then that it's really necessary first of all to do some pre-planning steps. Really work out what you need to know, okay, or what you need to do. This is necessary so that you work out the steps that your program must take. You're not going to be able to write a good or any program successfully if it comes to the more difficult programs, the more complex programs, if you don't understand the problem, first of all. And then second of all, if you don't have an idea of the steps that you need to take. You can't just take some problem statement and voila, start writing a code. That would be disastrous. Okay? That would be really disastrous. So, in a previous video I showed you pre-planning. Just get an idea of the steps that you need to take from the question itself. From that, we can now go on and fill in the documentation of your code. Okay, I've opened up quite a few windows now on the same screen. So we've got our problem statement, we've got our pre-planning. Let's go and have a look at the planning then of the program. And I've already filled in the planning. Let's just go have a good look at it. So first of all, we need to go and code a function, calc area. Need to get two parameter values and calculate and return the area of the parameters. And so I've decided to call the parameters that we get dimension 1 and dimension 2, the two room dimensions. I need to calculate. This is for a function, not parameter, but just like data returned. You can maybe call everything data received, data returned. So a function just returns some data. So this function must calculate and return the area. So the data returned, if I call it area, good name. Steps would be declare the variables, calculate the area. It would be I need to multiply the two dimensions, return the area. Okay. Now I've done what was specified over here. The function calculate area, get two parameter values, calculate and return the area of those. Whatever you name those two items of data that you're going to receive, they will become parameters, is up to you. This function only uses it. So it's for the function's internal use only. Then I need a second function. Calculate paint needed. I need the area to be painted, and I need to calculate and return the number of liters paint that's necessary. So if we go have a look at this, I am going to call this again just data returned. We can leave this with parameters receive or data if you want to. So I was given here a room requires 2.75 liters of paint per square meter. So this would be a constant for me to use. I will declare it under other variables. I need the total area. What must I return? the number of tins that's needed. And this I decided to call tins rounded, or I can call it tins rounded up, because the number of tins that I need must be rounded up. If I need 4.5 liters or 4.5 tins, I can't go to the shop and buy 4.5. I will need to buy 5 tins. So my steps, if I just minimize this a little bit, there we go. Declare the variables. First of all, I will need to calculate how much paint I would need. 2.75 per square meters. I will take the area divided by how much 1 liter of paint would use. Then I will need to calculate the number of tins needed. I can only buy them in 5 liters, 5 liter tins, and now I need to round it up. An easy way to remember whether I need to use the ceiling or the floor function is I want to go up with my number. I need to go to the ceiling. So this would round up the number of tins, and then I will need to return the number of tins. I can add the rounded up. Lastly, I will need to calculate a procedure, or plan a procedure. Over here, I'm going to use these two constant values. So the cost per tin and the discount that would be given. What will I need to use? The number of tins that's needed. What must I return? The discount amount and the final price. So those I'm entering over here. My steps, as always, declare the variables right at the start. So now I will need to calculate the price of all the tins that I'm going to use. I will need to calculate the discount amount, and then I will calculate the final price. And I've worked out my formulas already over here. Then we go to the program as a whole. And this is now where I will really very often use these pre-planning steps of mine. I'm going to just hide the program a little bit behind it. So, first of all, I'm going to enter what's the input of my program. So the user must give me the length, the width, and the height. And what's the output that we need? We need the number of tins, the discount amount, and the final price. And in a previous video, I already discussed some of the steps. I've just copied it over here. So if I go open that, we will need to declare the variables. We'll need to get the length, the width, and the height. Then, remember my pre-planning. I will need to go and calculate the long wall area, the short wall area, and the total area. So, calculate the area of the large wall. Now I'm going to call the function that already exists. And for the large wall, I will need to send the length and the height. Why do I need to send the length and the height? My long wall, the area would be defined by the length and the height of the wall, the length of the room and the height of the wall. So I'm going to call calculate area, and I need to send the length and the height to it. This will be sent to dimension 1 and dimension 2. Then I need to calculate the area of the small wall. Small wall, that would be the width of the room and the height of it again. So call the calculate area method again, send the width and the height. And now, what in the world did I do here? I want to calculate the total area. I've got two large walls, so it's the area of one large wall times 2 plus the area of a small wall times 2. That would give me the total area of the room. And now I need to calculate the number of tins needed. I know I've got a function that's going to do that job for me. The function only takes the total area and it's going to give me back the number of tins. I don't need to do anything regarding that. I simply call the function. Lastly, I need to calculate the cost of the paint and the discount and the final price, and I know I've got a procedure that's going to do that. I need to give the procedure the number of tins. I'm going to get back the discount amount and the final price. Lastly, I need to go and display all of those values. Okay, once I've done that, I can work on my test data, and I've done this on a separate spreadsheet. I didn't do it just because, remember, I really like Excel for calculations. Why do I like Excel so much? Because I need to set up a spreadsheet with formulas, but then I can just copy it. So if I've got a test data 4, and later on we will need some. Let's say it is a very small wall. It's 1 meter 45. Let's say it's wide 3.2 meters and the length is 4.5 meters. To calculate all the rest, I simply need to take all those formulas, copy it, and it's going to work out the new data for me. So that makes my job a lot easier. If you're not used to Excel, don't go and stress. You simply go do the stuff manually over here, and that's perfectly fine as well. You need to be able to calculate it. Take note for the constant values, all uppercase, and I just enter those values over here. And now for the long area, for example, I will take the length and the height. This already calculates that for 2 rooms, so let's go and adjust the formula so that the total area works exactly the same formula. So that would be B12 times 2 plus B13 times 2. It should have exactly the same result though. And now I can copy my data as I need to. I've got the tins rounded up here. I don't need it. I already have that. So I can exclude that there. Okay, but I've got test data. That's the important thing. I worked out my test data. After I've done all of that, I can start with the coding. I've already designed the screen for us. So if I take this program, just run it straight as it is, there we go. I can enter a length, a width, a height, but calculate doesn't do any job at this stage. Just a nice screen. I see I made a spelling mistake there with the room dimensions. Must have an S at the end. Okay, so now I can go have a look at the coding. I'll start always with this. Today is actually the 4th of June. And now I need to code the entire program. I am at this stage again going to open up my planning, and I need to code the first function, So that means I'm going to start over here. Quite a few of you asked what's the difference between public and private. Computers use those things. Private means for my own use, for this program's own use then. Public means anybody else can use it. And that currently your program's only you going to use it. Function calc area. Press enter immediately. Before I even go and code it, I want the purpose. What data does it receive? What data does it return? So, what's the purpose? Calculate the area. Just one line. What data does it receive? Dimension 1 and dimension 2. What must it return? The area. Okay, now I can fill in. So if it's going to return the area, I need as double. That means I need a dim statement, area as double, and immediately go fill in return area. Leave a line open. So if I've got return area, those are the three things that I need: a variable and return area. This function must receive two values. So for anything that I receive, I will use by value only. If you don't know whether to use integer or double, always use double. And I've set my program so that this automatically going to appear on the next line if I need to, so that when the screen is a little bit smaller I can see exactly what's going on. So now declare the variables would be only the dim statement for the area. That's all that I need. I don't need any other variables. Calculate the area, and we can simply go and copy that because my names are good. It works already. And in exactly the same manner I need to go and code the next function. So line open between functions, please. Private function calc paint needed. Press enter. What is the purpose? What data will it receive? What data will it return? Purpose, so calculate the number of tins needed. That's the overall purpose of this. Calculate the number of tins needed. What data will it receive? Total area. What data will it return? Tins rounded up. Okay, so tins will be an integer. That means I need a dim. Tins rounded up as integer and return tins rounded up. There we go. Now I need to go and fill in the rest. Declare the variables. There's some other variables needed. So I've got a dim liters paint, as that would be a double because I can have 5.75 liters of paint. And initially the tins will also be a double, because I might work out that I need 4.5 liters. And then I've got a constant over here, paint per square meter. So I'm just going to write it like that, as double, and that stores 2.75, like that. Okay, so first of all, I will need to calculate the liters of paint needed. And I've got my formulas, so I can simply go and add them over there. Then I need the number of tins needed. Oh, that's why you always look at your error messages. This thing tells me you're just grabbing total area out of thin air. That's not possible. But why didn't I fill in the total area? So this function must get the total area. Got to get it, so it's by val. Total area as double. There we go. And there's the problem cleared. I don't worry about the end. I'm still busy coding everything. And lastly, I need the tins to be rounded up. So if I code that, and again I can just copy the statement, tins rounded up. So if I made the documentation and everything must match. So these rounded up. This time around it tells me, math.ceiling gives me back a double. So that means I can just say convert to an integer, or I can use theirs, convert to a. What do they have? Convert to an unsigned integer. That's what that U means. Because I by accident had a U there right at the top. This must be integer. I made some typo over there. And now I don't need to convert to int calls. So there I've got that function. And no error messages or anything, so I can move up to the procedure that I need to go and code. So again, I'm going to start with private, but now to code a procedure, the reserved word is sub in VB. The thing's name must be calc price. Press enter and I immediately get the end sub. Purpose, receive, return. If I'm a lecturer of development software, I don't even look at code if it doesn't have purpose, receive, return. So calculate the output values. You can just say that, or you can say calculate the price of the paint. A little bit better. What will I get? The number of tins. What will I return? Discount amount and the final price. Okay, so now data receive is always by value. Data returned by a function. Then I need by reference. Let's just maximize this. Need by ref, discount amount. And this will need to be a decimal, right? It's money. Monetary values we always use decimals, and I need final price as well. There we go. Just go a little bit smaller again. Okay, so I've entered the orange, the data received, and the green, the data returned. Now I need to go have a look. Any other variables? Yes, actually we use quite a few. Constant, the cost of a tin, and it's money, so, and if I press enter there, I'll get a problem. I'll need to add a D at the end to say convert the 230 55 to a decimal. I need the discount. Oops. Discount as you guys can use double or decimal over here. Now I'm gonna do calculations with money, so I can just as well do that. And I need one statement, the price for all the tins. So decimal again. I've now declared all my variables. So now I will need to go and first step would be calculate the price of the tins. That again needs to be a D. That misses an S. Now I will need to go and calculate the discount amount. And I made a spelling mistake here. So that must be amount like that. And then my error is gone. Have a look. As soon as I get the error, I try to solve it. And lastly, my final price. And because my planning is done properly, I don't need to think too much at this stage. I can simply just copy the formulas. And no errors, so I think that should be fine. Lastly, I will need to go and have a look at the button event procedure. So I always want the steps that the procedure must take over here, and we sort of just use these pre-planning steps. It's good enough for me for now. So if I copy them there, program has got a huge problem because these are sentences. I'll need to say no, these must be comments for the program. I'm just gonna do it like this and then go and say steps that we're gonna take. Okay, so I need now to declare all the variables listed over here, all the things that my main program would use. So dim, length, width, height as double. Then I need the area, small, large, and total. And have a look. If it's like areas, I start with the same word. Area small, area large, area total. That's just a little bit of experienced programming coming along. You'll see it makes the code easier later on a little bit. Number of tins will need to be an integer. So dim number tins as integer. And then I need the discount amount and the final price as, and these would be prices, so decimal. So I've done step 1. Hey, step 1 normally tells you declare the variables. So not everything, just the things that the program over here would need to use. I've done that already a little bit. So okay, so declare the variables, done. Next step, get the length, width, height. So that I know I will save in the variables. So length is equal to txt length.text, and it moans about the conversion, and I can just do this. Width is equal to txt width.text, and again, quickest way over here, like that. Lastly, the height, txt height.text, and just tell the computer go convert for me. Okay, so now my next step, calculate the area of the large wall. So have a look, I started with area and I can just pick which variable I want. Area large is equal to calculate area, and I need to send the length and the height along. Then I need the area of the small wall, and again I use exactly the same function. This time I need to send the width and the height along, and then I need area total. And now I will take the area of the large wall, times it by 2, take the area of the small wall, times that by 2. Leave lines open between the different sections or stuff that you're doing. Okay, so now next I need the number of tins. My variable is called number of tins. Let me just, I went through this maybe a little bit too quick. Let's call one of the functions, calculate area. The moment that I say start with a function, it now over here gives me some data. This function needs 2 double variables. In the function we're going to call it dimension 1 and dimension 2, but in my program it would be the length of the wall and the height of the wall, so that I calculate the area of that wall, hey, the green wall. And in much the same way, if I say calculate area, I want to call it again, but now I want to send the width and the height along. The function where it's coded, and here where I'm calling the function, the names are not at all related to one another. Where I coded the function with that by val, I simply say I want 2 double values. That's what I need to send. So over here, I'm sending them. They will go to the function, these 2. I'll get to that in a moment as soon as we start with the execution of the program. Okay, so remember now, normally for beginners it's the easiest if you simply use the same name overall, but it's not always going to be the case. I can, for example, not specify calculate area must get the length and the height, because they need different dimensions for the different walls. So if I now go and say I want to calculate the number of tins, it's the next step that I need. call the calculate paint needed method. Paint needed tells me, give me the total area, but over here I called it area total. Again, the name not really exactly the same, but that's not a requirement in programming. Okay, last step. Call the procedure to calculate the prices. So, calculate price. Calculate price tells me, first of all, the number of tins. So if I start with num, I can choose what name I've got in the main method, number of tins. Now the discount amount. And then the final price. And on purpose, I didn't exactly use the same names overall in the procedures. You need to know and understand this part real well. Lastly, my program needs to display. So label number of tins dot text is equal to number of tins dot toString. It's a integer, so I can just simply call toString. Then LBL discount amount dot text is equal to if I start with a word, pops up, I can specify toString, and this is an amount, so I need currency formatting. And then label, made a mistake, final price dot text equal to final price dot toString, currency formatting 2. Okay, so there I've got my program, coded it. What remains? Haha, quite a bit of testing. So I can close all of that for now. I can open up my test data. I can take my program and I can say, well, hopefully you go and save quite often as well. Control S. I do it in between my code. I am used to the shortcut key. I never go file, save. But very often I just press Control S as I go along with the coding. Because it's real necessary. So if I run the program, let me just put the output on this screen. Let's go for test data 1. 5.5. The width is 4 meters. The height is 2.75. Click on calculate. And I've got some different values over here from there. Okay. And that's now normally where you will have a problem. So, very, very glad for that. Let's go have a look. You first of all need to double check all your data over here. Make sure your data is good. I'm going to stop the program. And what we now need to do is called debugging. I need to slowly go through the program step by step and make sure it does the right job everywhere. Debugging is part of your life because this is how you're going to find that data that is different. Problem. Okay, so also just always make sure your calculations are good. Hey, go double check. That's length and height. That's good. Have a look. Area short. That data is wrong. It's not B4 times B4. It must be B4 times B5. Total area. That looks good. Paint needed. Total area divided by the paint that it uses gives me the number of tins. 19 liters gives me 5.38, which should round to 4, that we know. So that means the price of the tins, 4 times 230, gives me the discount amount. That is right. And gives me that. Oh, so guess what? This initial data of mine. Because of one formula that's wrong, all the other values are a little bit different. So, let's just, without debugging, run this program again. Exactly the same values, 5.5, 4, 2.75, and there I get exactly the same values, because my test data had a problem. Okay, next I want to have a look at variables and parameters and what happened to them during the execution of the program. Okay, so I'm going to take this program step by step. Right at the start, let's assume the user now entered some data. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm executing the program and the user types in 5.5, 4 and 2.75, the first input data. The moment that the user clicks on the calculate button, event procedure, the program starts executing. Let me just redo this and set the breakpoint. So I need to stop the program. I need to tell the program, "Opa, when you get to this point, stop." Let's run the program. 5.5, 4 and 2.75. Moment that we get to this point, the program stops. I'm just going to move that away. And we're going to see what happens. So, first of all, the program will take the length, line 66, from the text box, and it's going to enter that in the variable, because that's what my program said it must do. Take the length typed in the text box, convert it to a double, save it in the length variable. Then line 67 will execute. Take the width that the user typed in, convert it to a double, save it in the width variable. These are all local variables. Created those dim statements right at the start of when the button event procedure starts to execute, and all of them would be created with zeros. Line 68 executes next. Take the height, 2.75, that the user typed in, and save it in the variable. Next, the program gets to line 70. Call the calculate area method. Okay, here's the code of the calculate area method. First of all, the parameter datas would be evaluate. There's two parameters, by val, and one local variable, dim area. So that means the two parameters would be created and the data. Currently in length, there's 5.5, so that would be copied here. The second parameter is height, so that would be copied to dimension 2, because it's the second parameter, 2.75. And area is a local variable created with 0. Now the program will execute this step that calculates the area and the area gets saved. 15.125. Return area takes this value, send it away. So the 15.125 send away. Let's extend this arrow a little bit. Okay, next end function will execute. What would happen? These are deleted from memory. Gone. Program gets back to this part, and now the program says that value that was sent, go save it in area large. So 15.125 gets saved in area large. And the function calculate area is completely gone now. The next line to execute is line 71. Line 71 says call the calculate area function. So again, whoop, function is called. And what parameters do I have? I've got two parameters called calculate dimension 1 and dimension 2, and they send by value. That means copies. And what data would they store? First parameter, dimension 1, gets the width. So that means 4. So 4 is saved in that. It's actually 4.0. It's a double. Second thing that was sent was height. So height gets saved in dimension 2. So 2.75. Next step is a dim statement. Declare a local variable for the area. And what value would area start with? Area is a local variable, so it starts with 0. Thereafter, the step to calculate the area, dimension 1 times dimension 2, will execute, and this calculates to 11. So 11 gets stored in area. Next, the return statement executes. This takes whatever is in area and send it away. So it sends 11.0 away. Next, end function execute. What happened? Everything in the function gets deleted. It's gone. 11 is on the way. Where must it be sent? Saved. We specified area small. So that means 11.0 gets saved in area small. Okay, then we get to the next line. Line 70 would execute. It would take area large, 15.125, times it by 2. Add to that area small, 11 times by 2, and the result is 52.25, and it gets saved in total area. Next, the program would jump to line 74. Calculate paint needed, and it's a function again. So the first thing the program would do is to say, okay, calculate paint area. Total area 52.25 is sent to it. That means I've got a parameter total area and it's got to store 52.25. And next, there's 1, 2, 3 variables and one constant created in memory. And that's then exactly what happens. There's 1, 2, 3 variables, all storing zeros, and one constant with already 2.75 stored in memory. Okay, the first formula execute. It takes total area and it divides it by 2.75 to get the liters of paint needed. And that stores 19.0 in the memory. Next, they calculate how many tins of paint is needed. 3.8. 19 divided by 2.75. Next, the number of tins are rounded up, so that calculates 4. Next, return tins is executed. That says this value here, sends it back, and 4 is sent. Next, end function executes, and that means delete everything that we had. Only thing that remains is 4, and 4 must be saved because my program says so in number of tins, so that saves 4, and voila, that data is saved now. Next, line 75 says executes the procedure, calculate price. The first thing the calculate price procedure does is to say I need to get as a copy, because it's by value, the number of tins. And that variable, number of tins, stores 4. Why? Number tins stored 4, so 4 was sent as a copy to the variable numTins. Next, there's 2 reference parameters. But discount amount and final price are reference parameters. That tells the program, the computer, they don't store data. They don't have a block next to them to store data. They refer to those variables in the main program, and it's sequence-wise. So the first reference parameter is discount amount in the button event procedure, and that means disk amount must refer to that. The second reference parameter is final price, so it's this variable over here, and that means final price over here must refer to that. Next, there's 2 constant values and 1 local variable created. So over here we've got the constant values and the local variable, and the local variable stores 0 because that's what happens initially with local variables. First of all, the line that executes the price of the tins gets executed. So that would now be 4 times the 230, and that stores 922.20 in the tins price. Next, discount amount gets calculated. Take the discount tins price times by 5.5 divided by 100, and that calculates to 50.721. And now have a careful look. That gets stored here where the reference parameter tells the program to. So 50.721. Reference parameters can't store data. They just say, over there you're going to find where you need to save the data in. Next, the final price is calculated. Take the tins price, 922, subtract the discount amount, 50.725. That calculates to 871.479. Next, end sub executes. What does end sub do? Delete everything in the procedure. So those lines would actually also be deleted. Okay, next, after the procedure, line 77 executes. And that's now going to take the number of tins stored in memory 4 and display that. Let's maybe just go and display it with black. Next, line 78 goes and display whatever is stored in discount amount, converts it to currency, and thus it displays this in discount amount. Lastly, line 79 goes and display the final price, again converted to currency. The 479 would be rounded to 48. Voila, and that would be the end of the button event procedure, and the user can see the data. So take note, reference parameters. These are the actual parameters. Their data doesn't get stored in the event procedure. It gets stored in these variables listed over here by the procedure that we call by calculate price. All the other by value parameters, their data gets stored in the function or then procedure. A copy gets stored. A copy gets made and stored. Okay, this concludes then my very long presentation, and I hope it shed a little bit of light on this very difficult subject for you. Okay, next I want to have a look at possible errors that you can encounter while coding. Okay. So, first of all, we can encounter syntax errors. Syntax errors would be errors where you don't follow the rules of the VB language. So, if I can have a look, after I've declared the variables, I get green squiggly underlines. These are warnings, and for now I can ignore them. They just say, but you haven't used, you said you want to use these variables, but you haven't used them yet. That's perfectly fine. That's because I'm still busy coding. So if I go code some code, like this, for example, I get 2 blue squiggly underlines over here. I misspelled these words. Okay, so have a look. if I put my cursor over the variable, it says width is not declared. It may be inaccessible due to its protection level. Ignore that for now. Width is not declared. I don't know this thing called width. If I go have a good look, I misspelled width. And the exact same happens to txt wind. So txt wind is not declared. And again, I misspelled it. Start with the word and have a look. I can just simply go and press tab. Wait for it a moment, press tab again. This will really assist you with the calculation. So height equal to, convert to double. I already know it's got to happen. txt and choose height dot text. And in exactly the same manner, where I need to go and call the calculate area method now, function to calculate the long wall area. I want to store that in area large. So I choose that variable. If I store, and now if I go and start with calc area, I can just press tab to get the name. It says I need two variables, and if I don't see the by val there, I know it means by value. So what do I need to send? Length and height. If you use the editor, it's going to help you a lot with your coding. So fix an error as soon as you can. Don't leave it, because in the end you're going to have, if you've got lots and lots of code that gives you problems, fix the errors as soon as they occur, because these blue squiggly underlines that you get after you've coded everything makes your life extremely difficult. Okay, so these are syntax errors. I can also get a syntax error if I, for example, by accident delete the end of the procedure. Then as soon as I get another private statement, VB knows I can't have one procedure inside another. So it says here, ooh, end of method assumed, end of a module, end of the, I presume you had to end the previous thing. Okay, have a good look at stuff like that. Also, if you go and choose format document, my code is neat and nice. Can you see? It doesn't look like it automatically fixes any mistakes. If you've got code that looks badly indented like this, it's really difficult to read. So you can sometimes do it manually. Edit, advanced, format document would format all your code. The second type of error, logical errors, are much more difficult to find. And that is where good planning is real crucial. If your planning is good, then the steps of your program would be good, and then you would most probably not have really very many or very crucial logical errors. Logical errors comes when your steps are wrong, or where you made slight errors in your coding, like sending the wrong parameters the wrong way around. Logical errors would be something like this. I've changed some of the parameters over here, And now, when I run the code, enter some data, and let's go and enter the data that we've been working with, 5.5, 4, and 2.75. Gives me incorrect results. Why? I've got a logical error in my program. Okay, so logical errors are much more difficult to find. Normally, you'll need to do some debugging for those errors. So examples of logical errors would be sending the wrong parameters. Let's just fix that. It should be height. Or having the steps in the wrong sequence. I can't calculate total area before I didn't calculate the large and the small wall areas. Okay? So if my steps are in the wrong sequence, I will have a logical error. So if I run this program again with exactly the same data, 5.5, 4, and 2.75 gives me wrong results because my sequence of my steps are wrong. I first calculate the total area. This would be 0 times 2 plus 0 times 2. Why zeros? Because this is not calculated, the area yet. I only calculate the area large after I've used it. That's wrong. Won't work. Can't happen. Okay? So logical errors are the real crucial part where you need to have good planning. If you don't have good planning, you're going to find logical errors and your data would be wrong. We're going to have a look at a few more logical errors. I, in any case, want to show you how to debug the program, so that's what we are going to do next. So let's assume we had some, I'm just going to delete that, times by 2. We want to go and work with the data, see what the program does. So, to debug, really important, I will start with the first real thing that I'm doing after the dim statements in button calculate. That's the easiest. Click on the border. And now if I click start, program starts to run and I can enter the data. I'm going to enter exactly the same values over there. Moment that I click on button calculate, this event procedure starts. And now those dim statements already executed. I just want to be able to see the data. Have a look. If I put my cursor over the values, it shows me. Let's just say add a watch, and I want the watch window over here. Whoops, not like that. So I can right click on any of these and say add a watch to keep a track of the data. That we've got. Okay, this yellow step will execute next. So if I go and specify I want one step in the debug menu, step into is F11. I'm just going to press F11, but I've selected that now and the program did that step, and have a look. Length stores 5.5. If I press F11 again, width stores 4.0 now. Press F11 again, and height stores its data. If I press F11 again, have a look what happens. My code immediately jumps to the calculate area function, because that's exactly what happens if I call a function. I say, "Whee, Mr. Function," and then we jump to the function to do that job. The function, the first value that I'm sending, so here I'm sending the length first. That gets copied to dimension 1. It's 5.5. Dimension 2, if I put my cursor over that, 2.75. It's the height. So F11 calculates the area for me. Return area sends it back. End function stops this function. And have a look, area large doesn't store a value yet. We first need to do the assignment statement. F11 saves that value that's sent back, boom, into area large. And exactly the same is going to happen. Width is 4.0, height is 275. If I press F11 to call calculate area again, then whoop, we jump there. And now dimension 1 is 4.0, dimension 2 is 275. Sorry. That would calculate the area, that would send it back, that would end the function, and if I press F11 again, the value that's sent back gets saved to the left of the assignment statement. I don't have a variable for that. Area small, I can say add a watch. The area small. Area total is not calculated yet. So currently it's 0, because if I've got a dim statement, everything starts with zeros. If I press F11, it takes that and it saves it in total. Now we call the calculate paint needed. Let me just maybe enlarge my program window like this. That piece of code, if I press F11, I'm standing to do line 74 next. So F11 jumps to the calculate paint needed, and it got the total area. So now it does this, and after each of those calculations, I can have a look at the data. So tins is 0. Tins divided by 3, of liters of paint divided by 3, 15 divided by 3 is 3.0 on the dot. So that means tins rounded up would be 3 on the dot. Return end function goes back, and that would save that value in number tins. There we go. Next we call the procedure. And we jump to the procedure. So discount amount is 0. Why? Final price also, because that was the values of discount amount and final price here in the button event procedure. Those data is sent like a two-way, so the initial value would be sent, and new values that are calculated would automatically be returned because I'm using the address. That would calculate the price of the tins, calculates my discount amount, calculates my final price, end sub stops. That's the end, and now output is displayed. End sub only would go back to my program. And currently, because I changed the formula over here, I again have the wrong value. Just to show you. Slowly and carefully, if I go through the program, if I now compare all this data area total I worked out to be 41.25 in the program. On my spreadsheet I said it's got to be 52.25. So there's a problem. I can immediately see there's a problem. Length, width, height is good. Here where it calculates the total area, I can see is wrong. Area short, or the small, whatever I called it here in the program, it's 11. Area large, 15 is good. So then go have a look at your formula to calculate the total. Currently, if I stop that, I can adjust my formula. It's so easy for something to go wrong. Have a look, for example, if I, for example, get the wrong data. So now I'm getting width twice, but once I'm storing it in length. If I go run this program, 5.5 and 4 and 2.75. Oh, by accident, because those two are very close to one another and we're rounding it up, gives me the right data because the number of tins are rounded up. But very, very often, if I then go with the next and the next and the next data, so take exactly the same program, that's why we need more than one value. Oops, I didn't clear those. 7.4, 5.6, 4.5. What does that give me? Now I get the wrong data. That says 9 and here I've got 8. So the prices would also be different. Okay, that's what I'm going to use debugging for. So if I go back to my program and I say, okay, stop when you get to this first line. Step into F11. Just quickly see why. So stop, debug. I need to first type in my data. So that means 7.4, 5.6, 4.5. Click on the button calculate and now the program stops and all my data starts with zeros again. So if I press F11, length gets stored, and if I'm wide awake, have a look, length must be 7.4, but I am storing, just go back to the program, 5.6. And if we then have a look at the program, very careful look at the program, oh boy, have a look, I can spot my mistake, I get the data of the wrong text box. So that must be txt length that I'm saving.